Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a close look at the Tramora Carry On Luggage. You know, the one sold on Tramora.com.
Right?
Our mission today is pretty clear. We're digging into a recent video review to figure out if this suitcase, which looks really sleek, very tech-savvy online, is actually a good buy for travelers, or if maybe buying it is, well, a bit too risky.
Okay, yeah, let's unpack this. Because the initial appeal, it's strong. The website, the ads, they promise this great mix of style and solid function. They talk up features like a tough polycarbonate shell, smooth spinner wheels, those handy built-in laptop sleeves, TSA locks.
All the good stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the price always seems to be this big discount, making it look like a real steal, like a modern, high-value essential for travel.
And that promise of getting, luxury for less, that's what grabs people, right? You see it and think, great, I can get that premium travel vibe without the premium price tag. But then you start looking beyond the polished images. You dig into what actual buyers are saying. And that's where the story takes a bit of a sharp turn.
It really does. Now, we should say some customers do get a suitcase, and sometimes it looks pretty good initially. But there are widespread reports of some serious problems.
Like what specifically?
Well, we're talking really long shipping delays, like weeks and weeks longer than expected. Then when it does arrive, people say the material feels, well, cheap, flimsy, not what they expected.
Okay.
And maybe most worrying, a fair number of orders apparently just vanish, never arrive. The tracking numbers stop updating, poof.
Wow. And getting help.
That seems to be another major issue. Lots of reports saying customer service attempts are just ignored, or you get the runaround.
Okay, delays and bad service are frustrating, sure. That happens sometimes with online shopping. But what makes the source called Tramora fundamentally risky? You mentioned multiple websites, too. Is that unusual?
That's a really key point, and it comes down to transparency, or maybe the lack of it. See, the problems don't seem like one-off mistakes. They suggest something more systemic. The review pointed out low trust ratings on sites like Scam Advisor. That's a red flag. And yeah, the multiple similar websites across different countries, the source flags that, because it can indicate a kind of fragmented, less than transparent operation, the kind that might prioritize making sales over, say, reliable shipping or consistent quality control.
Right, and that perpetual limited time discount you mentioned, that feels connected.
Exactly. It's fascinating, isn't it?
If it's always on sale.
Then the original high price probably isn't real. It's just there to make the discount look huge.
Ah, the urgency tactic.
Textbook. It's common with brands that might be, let's say, low transparency or maybe even just drop shipping.
Yeah.
Create that fake urgency, make you feel like you're getting amazing value, so you buy quickly without digging deeper.
Gotcha.
And in those models, often the investment goes into the slick ads, not necessarily into making sure that polycarbonate shell is genuinely durable.
Okay, so let's sum up the verdict here based on the source material. Tramora isn't labeled a total scam because, yes, some people do receive the product,
Correct.
but it's explicitly called a risky purchase. The odds seem stacked towards disappointment, mainly because the quality and, crucially, the delivery reliability just don't seem to match up with the fancy marketing.
Which brings up a really important question for you, the listener, if you're tempted. Are you okay with that level of risk? If you do decide to, roll the dice, the analysis gave some specific advice.
Precautions.
Yeah. First, be really cautious, understand the risks. Second, definitely use a payment method with strong buyer protection. Think credit card, maybe PayPal. Something where you can dispute the charge if things go wrong.
Makes sense.
Third, double-check the return policy before you buy. See what hoops you might have to jump through. And crucially, do not rely on this suitcase for an important or urgent trip. The shipping delays are just too common.
Right. That's a big one. So the bottom line takeaway seems pretty clear then. Tramora might look sharp online, but the reported durability and especially the reliability, highly questionable. And a suitcase isn't like a cheap t-shirt, is it? If it fails when you're traveling, mid-trip.
Your whole trip could be derailed.
Exactly. So for people who travel often, who really need gear they can count on, the source strongly suggests sticking with established, trusted brands. The usual suspects like Samsonite, Away, Monos, companies with a track record.
Yeah, and if we zoom out a bit, connect this to the bigger picture, the essential lesson here seems to be about that growing gap we often see now.
Yeah.
The gap between this perfect, seamless digital image created by really clever ads
Right.
and the often messy, unreliable reality of actually getting a physical product delivered from some e-commerce operations.
So what does this all really mean for you listening right now? You really have to think about how often that luxury for less promise comes at the cost of reliability. And reliability, like we said, that's probably the most important thing when you're depending on your luggage far from home.
That really is the core tension, isn't it? If a company seems to be putting more money and effort into running constant sales and flashy photos,
Mhm.
more than they put into solid logistics and making sure the materials are actually tough,
Hmm.
then what cost are you really saving when, say, that zipper busts on day one of your vacation? That's definitely something worth mulling over before you click checkout next time.